Let's go ahead and stand. If you'd rather sit, that's fine.
For audio. Yeah, baby.
And let's go ahead and mute.
That was me.
Let's be in our length. This is the human line. And along our length, begin to align your head, your shoulders, and your hips. Knees, ankles, feet. And along this vertical line, we hold ourselves as being the bridge between
the two of them. And I was telling my father and my mother,
please
promise me
mute.
that you won't
Everybody
die.
please mute.
Promise me you won't die. And I was 5 and I was desperate. And my father was so profoundly beautiful in the way he held me.
Please mute. Would everybody please mute?
He didn't try to
Hello, Richard. You can actually mute everybody. As if you have the controls, you can mute everybody.
Antonio, would you mute everybody, please? Thank you. So that's a beautiful little moment for us that we're moving along in our practice, and then something else comes in that we have to deal with. And it gives us this opportunity to see all of the thoughts, perceptions, the emotions, the sensations that arise in that time. And if we attach to those things, then they begin to run us. If we begin to see in a vast sky that, oh yes, they arise, they start to heat up, they come up, but we don't necessarily have to do that. And we take action there. So we're standing here as the bridge between heaven and earth. And we're both straightening and settling. So let your eyes relax. This is how we settle. We let our eyes relax. We don't collapse or slump. We keep a good vertical line. But in relaxing our eyes, we come behind our eyes and we feel the sensation along that band. There are sensations in the eyes, the upper cheeks, around the whole head. By bringing our attention there, it allows that whatever has been constricted to release. Then we release at the jaw, at the hinge, and at the chin. So your teeth aren't biting down, but just relaxed. And together, collectively, let's take a deep breath, bring your shoulders up, exhale, and they go down. Let your breath drop to your abdomen. Come into your pelvis and release there. You're tightening your gluteal muscles, your butt cheeks, any of the sphincter muscles, just releasing there. So we're standing here in our vertical line. This vertical line is the line of being a human. Our hands are free. Our heart is facing the world. Our belly and pelvis is facing the world. We can see further, their eyes forward. This in itself is a certain kind of miracle, just to feel ourselves this way. Now let's come into width. And in width, the horizontal dimension, let's start with our feet. So feel balanced in your feet, left and right. This is scanning yourself, really dropping into your body. Feel the width at your knees, at your hips. And as you take a breath here, feel how the rib cage can expand out slightly, just kind of like maybe a book opening or a clamshell opening or a scroll that's opening. Our shoulders are balanced left to right, and our head is on straight. And in this way, see if you can feel your clothes at the edge of your skin. So you're really widening out. And if you're in a place where maybe there's a plant or flowers, or you might have a cat or a dog or some animal, even a fish in a bowl, let yourself include those living forms. I'm in front of a wooden table. That wooden table came from a tree. Can I feel that form? And inside of this horizontal space, which we call our social space, our sociability, or connecting with the world. We connect with heaven and earth. We connect to the world. Include your loved ones. The embodied imagination, imagine that they're in your space. Can you include the others on this collective call as we get together for resilience and support and connection? And now let's go into depth. Depth is front and back. And because we have all of our machines in front of us all the time, our handheld machines or computers, we're looking at screens of all types. And so many of our senses are in front. Let's come into our back body. So it's the feeling of resting back and into ourselves. Resting back and into our history. The places where we're competent, we might be experts. We rest back into all of our teachers, our family. Those that have come before us and helped build this path. Almost as if you have a large dinosaur tail that you can rest back into. And in depth too, in somatics, we say we're listening very deeply to the depth within ourselves. In other words, as evolutionary beings, what now wants to come to form? What now wants to come to shape? So this is not a request to go into your frontal cortex or in the front part of your brain, but really feel into your depth and what image may appear, what sign may appear, about who is it now that you're becoming? What is it that now in you wants to have life, to have form, have shape, to be awake into the world? Now let's drop our hand just below our belly button, palm of either hand. And we put our hand there because it's often much easier just to feel that place. Because we feel the sensation in our hand, we feel the sensation in our lower belly. So drop your hand. You keep your attention dropped. So over time, human beings have called this your center, your hara, your tantien, your kaph. And this is the place in which the ki is stored in your body. And we can run it up or we can run it down. The place of intuition. We have a gut feeling about something. A place of skillful action. Now put your hand on your heart center, right where the big pumps are, the lungs and the heart. Feel the sensation there. Allow your attention to rest right there. Drop your hand. And over time, humans have talked about this center or this chakra or this wheel as being the place of compassion, love, benevolence, goodwill. We allow breath to go in there. We allow life to go in there. We see this as part of our original being, as well as skillful action and our intuition, that we have this capacity to have empathy and compassion for ourselves and others. And now touch between your eyebrows. We call this the eye center. And again, just that moment to feel the sensation there. Then drop your hand. And being up here is not like I'm the thinking self again, but it's feeling into the feeling self that resides there that has to do with long horizons of time, maybe eternity, maybe living in the forever. It's wisdom. We know we live in impermanence. We live in that all things have a certain kind of wisdom within themselves. It's the center of possibility. So internally align all those centers. So your belly center, your heart center, and your eye center are all connected. Pragmatic wisdom at the eye center, grounded compassion at the heart, and skillful action at the belly center. And just light those up. And just check it for a moment that we went through this practice, this meditation, and what did it produce in you? And sometimes we might go through these and we might even pick them up on the negative. My back hurts, it made me worry more, but we have an observer of those things now. And they live in the great space that we all live in, great sense of being that we all live in. Now together, let's put our left foot forward. And without stepping forward, put your right foot next to your left foot and put your left foot back. So what we're practicing now is being present, open, and connected while we're in movement. Take the left foot next to the right foot back. Right foot forward, left foot back. Left foot forward, right foot back. And then just stop for a minute and see what that generated in yourself. Now, keeping the line of length, width, and depth, what I want you to do is put your hand on your belly center and just move that center forward and then back. And then forward and then back. Forward and then back. Forward and back. Put your right foot next to the left foot, then your left foot back. And your feet are more like on a railroad track. They're not really narrow. There's not a narrow space between them. It's a good wide space. So I want you to really relax your arms, just like the ropes hanging, and just keeping your right foot forward, move forward and back. Forward and back. And see if you can just let the arms go, and you see how easy it is that they'll just swing. Engage your legs, engage your feet, your hips, and hold. Put your left foot forward, your right foot back. Stop for a moment. Usually we're very much inclined to be right-sided or left-sided, so just notice the difference, appreciating the difference, the small things. Center forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. Allowing the breath to happen. There's no effort to try to do this right or try to do it perfectly, but basically just to pay attention to this dimensions of length, width, depth. Center of gravity. And then hold. Left foot is forward and just hold. And move your center forward. Take your hands forward as if there's oars. This is like we're rowing. We're rowing standing up. Your hands are forward. And as your hips go back, your hands go back to your hips. Your hips go forward. Your arms go forward. And back. And forward. Hips go back. Arms come to the waist. Hips go forward. Arms go out. So let's row for those that don't have the ability or able to row. Let's row for those that are not well and maybe can't stand to do this or even sit to do this. Let's row for those that don't have clean water or clean air or food to eat. And hold. Let's come back, put our feet together. And again, just notice what generated in you as we did those practices. Notice your breath. Notice the sensation of your feet on the floor. Notice any places you might have tightened and now you can let go. Put your right foot forward, your left foot back. Your hands at your hips, push the hips forward, the hands go out, and then back. Out, and then back. Just like people in many parts of the world, they row standing up. And your breath is engaged. Hands go out, that's an in-breath, out, in-breath, out, out-breath, in. Moving from center, rowing for your loved ones, rowing for you on your path, rowing for those that are disenfranchised, that are in places of war. And hold. Feet together. And again, just feel and see what that generated. Left foot forward. Now, let me explain this. What we're going to do now, at some point as we're rolling, hands are out, and we're going to go and change. Bring the back foot up, the left foot back. So you're just staying in place, but you're actually continuing to move from center in multiple dimensions. So let's have our left foot forward, hands go out, and then back. Forward and back. This is nothing to think about. Is just let yourself relaxing into that every time there's going to be change. And change. And change. And change every time now. think that what we're practicing is that when there's transition or change, like we're in now, that we have this opportunity to drop down and into ourselves. Drop into the interconnectedness we have with all of life. And hold. Feet together. And just feel here what got generated in the rolling. So what we're seeing is the possibility that in this time that we're in, when we're thrown towards uncertainty, not knowing, helplessness, sense of fragility, that there's also behind it a certain tenderness. And the tenderness is really a key to us becoming closer and more intimate with ourselves and with others. Less of something between us and the world, all of our opinions or thoughts or inherited conditioned tendencies. Now we're going to do a practice called holding the temple bell. So if you think of a large bowl, holding the temple bowl. Some bells are like that too. It's brass and we're holding it so your hands are in front of you. You can see me there. And my fingertips are touching. So that bowl touches my chest and around my arms. And I'm going to take a very wide stance, about 3 feet apart, and then lower myself. So my knees are bent. And if I'm holding this large bowl, I'm not holding it with my hands or shoulders. I'm actually holding it with my hips and letting that weight go from my hips to my legs down into the earth. Engage your breath here. Engage your legs. Your back is straight. Now let's stand, arms to your side. And whatever that generated, just let yourself feel that life moving through you. Think of that life as able to ground you. And again, wide stance. This is like from the Chinese arts, holding the temple bowl. It's very heavy, your arms are around it, and basically you're letting all that weight drop. You don't have to hold it with your willpower, with your arms, but it gets transferred down into your hips, down into your legs. And we trust the earth. We trust the earth to hold that. Gauge the breath. Back is straight. And then standing. And again, feeling. Whatever's moving through you, don't analytically look at it or analyze it. Just move from the thinking self to the feeling self. Right here, right now is what we have. This aliveness. And now I'd like you to extend your fingertips. Extend your fingertips and extend them down. And you're doing that from this place of your length, width, depth are balanced. Your 3 main centers are open. And as you're extending down, this shape is a prayer of gratefulness to the earth. And think of what the last meal that you had, that came from the earth. Think of every meal that you had everything you ever drank has come from the earth. There's the beauty, there's the waters, there's the rain, everything. Keep that extension, and now let's extend up and let's look up. And let this posture be a shape of gratefulness to the heavens, warmth, light, full moons, the rain, the snow, vastness, the mystery. Now let's look forward and put your hands out so your palms are going out. And here we're giving thanks to others. We're giving thanks to human beings. And I want you to say to yourself the name of someone or someone's you want this sense of loving kindness to flow out to. Or maybe there's somebody that you know is in need of a healing energy, and send that out to them. And now put your left hand at your heart, your right hand at your belly. Left hand at your heart, right hand at your belly center. And I want you to remember, why are you on this earth walk? What is your purpose? And as you say that, feel your foot, feel your length, feel your depth, feel your width. So you're declaring this purpose really from a felt, living, very present moment. Let your hands come to your side. And again, let's just take a moment and feel. If you're standing, go ahead and sit down.
On the river, there's party boats out, people party. Still business as usual.
I'm going to take a moment here and read a poem for you. We read poetry because, in the words of T.S. Eliot, he said it's a raid on the inarticulate. Poetry is a raid on the inarticulate. Octavio Paz, the Latin American poet and essayist, says it's an opportunity to drop in the deep waters of existence. And it's also a moment of encouragement to go, what's valuable before you do your practices that you might want to read or memorize? It might be a paragraph, maybe a page in a book, could be a poem. And how does this actually begin to center yourself to what's important? That in this moment where everything seems stopping and everything seems just turned on their its side in like the realities that we've had, and going, oh, this is this wonderful moment when we can actually expand. And I say these things in really great respect to all of our caregivers, to all of the responders, and I was part of, and really understand the work that these first responders are doing, and just the power of that, and those that are ill too, and inside of really supporting them and sending them thoughts and positive energy, is that we see this is a moment of transformation for us. This is a moment to really go into depth and to see what is it? What is it now that is time to let go of? What is it now that is time for us to go to the next place, to open up to? You know, have we done enough devastation to the earth now and we can stop? Have we done enough running around quickly that we can now stop? Have we now realized that all that hurrying, we can now stop? You know, we know there's now places in China that people look up in the sky and can actually see the blue sky. So this poem is called You Will Lose Everything. It's by a man named Jeff Foster. You will lose everything. That's also the first line in the poem, kind of a poem prose piece. You will lose everything. His name is Jeff Foster. You will lose everything. Your money, your power, your fame, your success, perhaps even your memories. Your looks will go. Loved ones will die. Your body will fall apart. Everything that seems permanent is impermanent and will be smashed. Experience will gradually, or not so gradually, strip away everything that it can strip away. Waking up means facing this reality with open eyes and no longer turning away. Let me repeat that last line. Waking up means facing this reality with open eyes and no longer turning away. He's talking about impermanence. He's talking about change and transition, and something that takes a heartfelt rigor to really look at all the time. Then he says, but right now, we stand on sacred and holy ground. For that which will be lost has not yet been lost. And realizing this is the key to unspeakable joy. Whoever or whatever is in your life right now has not yet been taken away from you. This may sound trivial, obvious, like nothing, but really it is the key to everything. The why and how and wherefore of existence. Impermanence has already rendered everything and everyone around you so deeply holy and significant and worthy of your heartbreaking gratitude. Impermanence has already rendered everything and everyone around you so deeply holy and significant and worthy of your heartbreaking gratitude. And may I say that in some way, and this is in due respect for everybody's health, for everybody's longevity, and everybody that's working, that this is also this virus, which is a living thing. And this living thing has intelligence. And it's part of our universe. We're asking it that we don't have to be the host for it, but it's here as a guide. And it's a guide for us to wake up to something and some way of being that has been destructive for us. That it is a reflection, perhaps, of a way of being that we can say needs to come to an end. His last line says, loss has already transfigured your life into an altar. Loss has already transfigured your life into an altar. I will say again, but right now we stand on sacred and holy ground for that which will be lost and has not yet been lost. And realizing this is the key to unspeakable joy, the key to unspeakable joy. Whoever or whatever is in your life right now has not yet been taken away from you. Just for a moment, think of them. This may sound trivial, obvious, like nothing, but really it is the key to everything, the why and how and wherefore of existence. Impermanence has already rendered everything and everyone around you so deeply holy and significant and worthy of your heartbreaking gratitude. Loss has already transfigured your life into an altar. Let me suggest that we just let that be digested and metabolized into us. Don't try to think about it. And let's sit quietly together for a few minutes. And remembering that impermanence is one of the cornerstones of life, change. And that this life is happening right now, and it's so significant that it has not yet been taken from us, or these people.
I'm literally gonna cry. I can't do number 18.
Letting your jaw relax. Letting your shoulders drop. If you have a type of meditation you do, feel free to do that if it's silent and embodied. Feel the ground under your feet. And from the heart of the cave, the place of loving kindness, benevolence, peace, openness, that we are neither grasping after nothing, nor are we pushing anything away, but simply being with what is. At the end of your next out breath, let your eyes come open. And instead of reaching out for the world, let the world come to you. Let the shapes, the sizes, the colors just enter into you. So in the middle of all this seeming chaos, we've all stopped together and breathed together and felt together. We have this scheduled from 9 to 10. And I know that you probably have commitments at other places. And I'll go ahead and stay on for 10 more minutes here and ask if anybody has anything to weigh in on or has a question. I can't promise you I have any answers. I don't think as I get older and older, I have less answers. But those of you that need to leave right now, please feel free to do that. And we're going to do this for the next 3 sessions also. And it really has been a delight to take this time with all of you in community and share these moments of what's important to us and what we care about.
Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Thank you so much for that. That was really beautiful. I have a question about being with what is right now and whether there's room for a sort of grand imagination for a better future, and how to hold space for both at once, like the both and of being with like the horror of the present and the fear and anxiety, and at the same time expanding into like a wild imagination, a creative imagination for what could be, and how to find a balance so as the imagination is not an escapism.
Mm-hmm. You know, my thinking on that is if we really start with where we're at, and we start in the what I would say the feeling self, and not necessarily the thinking self or the energetic self, really being with what is in ourself in that way, is that we might say, oh, this is something that I can face into in myself. As the poet said, that it's now time for us to really face into impermanence, to squarely turn and look at that. And we realize that that takes a certain kind of forthrightness or will or courage, as I said in the beginning. And whatever that is, we begin to take that move. And if we do that sincerely, what most of us find is there can be this time of shakiness. We're not sure. We don't know the steps.
Hold on up there.
Okay.
I'm just listening to a webcast now.
Darker.
Have
And
some
can you please mute, everybody mute? Thank you. And that inside of that shakiness, that tenderness, that really is this moment of how we can then expand into a bigger picture. Because, or as you say, a more grand imagination. And what we see is that tenderness and all of these things live in a great luminosity, a great space. And as I said before, like the Tibetans will call that sky, they'll often represent that as the sky, both literally and metaphorically. So it's, from my view, it's really this connection between being connected to the life that is moving through us. The easiest and clearest way to feel that is to feel sensation, and from there become intimate with these moments of fragility, vulnerability, uncertainty in ourselves. And by traveling along that route of sensation, the tenderness, the vulnerability of those things, is that there's something that begins to open from there. And that we don't necessarily want to skip those stages. We don't want to go, I feel this, so I'm going to bypass all those other things to a big imagination. I want to go through my own vulnerability, my own uncertainty, my world of uncertainty, and then see how that little trickle becomes a creek, becomes a stream, becomes a river, and then becomes the ocean.
Thank you so much.
Yes, but tell me your name again.
Iman.
Iman. Yes, you're right.
Iman.
Amen. Thank you.
I have a question as well, if there's time.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for the practice as well. It was really lovely.
Tell me your name.
It's Azadeh.
Azada.
Azadeh. Yes.
Azadeh.
Yes. It's about center. So it's kind of a pragmatic, somatic question with regards to this virtual experience that we're having. So I'm just noticing, you know, when I'm centering and I'm thinking about, okay, being in my with and how that's the social or the kind of collective experience, how that's altered by, you know, my experience of interfacing this way, right, virtually. And I'm just wondering if you have anything to share on how what can be effective to sort of recalibrate and to do our best to be in our centering while making use of this technology, which we're very lucky to have, and also is limiting, I notice, you know, constrains my somatic experience. Like I feel I'm not alone and I'm here. And also I notice the way my energy hunches and goes towards my device. So if you have anything to share on that, would be really welcome.
Well, yeah, well, first of all, I would really, Azode,
yes.
Azode,
Yes.
I would like to acknowledge the keenness of your awareness to begin with,
Thank you.
that you're already noticing these things that are happening. And, you know, that is such a strong platform in itself that you're beginning to trust and have confidence in your own awareness. And out of that arises some question in yourself.
Yes.
And then, you know, for example, if I use your question, that your awareness shows you that you start to lean into your brain. Yeah. And I'll just say parenthetically here, these figures may be off by a few pounds or not, but you know, when our head is like on top of her, it's 12 pounds. If our head goes like this, it's about 25 pounds. When it does this, it's in the 60s. In my pounds, in the sense of what it takes to hold it up. And if you look out in the world, you see so many people like this, huh? And the question is, do we want to grow inside of that shape? Which we don't, because it's out of harmony with the energy field of the planet, which is gravity. So the first thing is you just doing your self-correction, that you notice you're doing that hunch and then you're coming back. The other thing that I would say is that, so you produce action out of that awareness. We just don't have more and more awarenesses, but we have action that comes out of it. And one of the things that I've noticed, and that it was on a book, it was brought to my attention, called On the Internet. When this man, Professor Dreyfus at UC Berkeley, philosophy professor, talked about how these online classes started, and it was difficult for students and the teachers to feel moved, to feel other people's state of being. And I found that too, so that what I think is important for us is that we stay really connected to our own state of being. Can that be transferred through these electrical impulses? I don't know in this kind of a way, but I think it's just important we continue to recognize the nature of our own beingness, or what can be called mood. And that's what I have there, Azudeh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm Donahi. Hi.
Hi, Chelsea.
Donahi.
Donahi. Hi, Donahi.
Yeah. Hi. For some people, this moment is very uncertain, but for some people, it's already devastating.
Yes.
They lost their job, they lost their income. They're suffering right now because they don't know how they're gonna make their rent or basic needs. So inside of that, as a collective beings, how can be in support of that, recognizing that not all of us are in the same place?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. It's great to see you, Donahi.
Thank you.
Very great to see you. It's been too long. I see that there are more and more organizations and institutions are coming up and saying, during this time, this is how I can help. Like I just got something from the resource generation around people of means are then collecting money that they can send out to people for different kinds of events or things that happen. So I think that's a way to begin to build collective contribution. And one of the things that I see, like I said, is that there are more and more people that are rising up and saying, either how can I help, or going, here's a way to help. And that's really what I have. That's really what I have. The other thing that maybe is just consoling to me, but I keep my heart open to them, and I keep listening to the places where I can contribute to them, either as individuals or family systems or even collectives.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard. I got a team here. This is Daniela. I'm wondering how. So I love the beauty of the poem and a lot of what you mentioned. Oh, you're bringing us into the present moment. About this, you know, we've heard about how to sit and looking at the future of like, wow, this is amazing. Like the world will not be the same. It cannot be the same. It will not. Right? And then, wow, so many of my neighbors have already lost jobs. Right? So, you know, my question is, how do we bring more people this work, the work that you're doing? That I mean, this is about being, right? We're like being forced. Mother Nature is making us, forcing us to do the being, and I'm a doer, right? So do you have tips on, for those of us, those people who haven't had the luxury of being, you know, learning from you and learning in courses like this, and have, you know, what? And maybe this is my doer side trying to bring this out again, but is there a way to like help people, others, sit in that when they haven't maybe been exposed to that mindset way of thinking or this type of work?
Mm-hmm. I've been taught, and I really believe in this notion that we first become the change. So people see that, you know, it's a cliche, but things become cliches because they're true. But I think that really, Daniela, is really the first place. And then the other place is to look in our own locales where people are doing practices or getting together online or 10 feet apart or whatever they're doing, and going, oh, here's a place to practice, or here's something to read, or let's make a plan to get together like this, and let me tell you about my learning or resources that I have.
Yeah.
It's great to see your growing family.
Yeah, the little guy was in my belly when we last met.
Thank you all for spending time. I need to step into something else right now, and we'll see you in the future in these kinds of practices that we have together. So many blessings to you all. As wash your hands, wash your hands, and enjoy the sky and the green grasses at the same time.
Love you, Richard.